The tens of thousands of protesters, at least those from Wisconsin, who've been in our capital over the past 2 weeks, have every right to be heard. But as the days continue and we see more and more protesters coming in from Chicago and Nevada and New Jersey, and in particular Washington, D.C., I am not going to allow for 1 minute their voices to be able to drown out the voices of the millions of taxpayers in this state who want sanity and security. You see, this battle is much bigger than the next biennial budget. This battle is about our commitment to the future. Now, many of you know I have 2 sons in high school. And I remember back when I was in high school, there was a great leader in this state taking us out of recession back then by the name of Tommy Thompson. And he helped us turn the state around. He helped us in his first term. His policies helped the people of the state, not the government. The people of this state create 258,000 new jobs by the end of his term. But he was bold. He was aggressive. He took on the status quo. And there's no doubt what we're doing in the Capitol these days is bold. Anytime you challenge the status quo, you've got to be bold. But what we're asking for as well is modest. It's modest when it comes to what everybody else outside of government is asking for when it comes to employee contributions. You all know this firsthand. I mean, think about it. Most of our state workers pay next to nothing for their retirement. We're asking for 5.8%. Right now, most of our workers across the state are paying about 6% for their health care insurance premium. We're asking for 12.6%. Both of those are well below what people all across the state are paying every single day. Every single day. In fact, I was out about a week and a half ago. I toured around manufacturing plants all across the state of Wisconsin, and I talked to workers, the good, hardworking, middle-class, blue-collar workers that make this state. The kind of people the state was built on, the kind of people that will continue to take us out of this economic recession. As I visited these plants and talked to these workers, I found that so many of them, like so many you know, are paying 25 to 50% of their health insurance premiums. Most of them don't even have pensions, and the retirement plans they do have are 401k plans. A number of the stops along the way, I found out that in the last year or two, some of their employers have suspended the employee match just to ensure they could keep the people they had working again. That's what's happening outside of government. So what we're asking for is very reasonable. We're asking for a little bit more. It affects me, my family, the legislature, my cabinet, as well as all of our state and local government workers, to pay a little bit more for health care and a little bit more for pensions. But in return, we give them the true freedom of choice for those workers to decide whether or not they want those dues automatically deducted from their payroll. And in many cases, up to $1,000 a year that instead they could keep in their pocket and use to offset the impact of the cost for health care and pension premiums. That's what this is really about. Don't let yourself be fooled for 1 minute to think that those folks, those public union bosses coming in from other states are concerned about their workers' money. If they were, a week ago, they claimed we couldn't have the 5 and the 12. And the reason they said that was it would be devastating. Their members couldn't handle it. There was no way financially the public workers they represented could handle that. A week later, they were willing to give that up. The reason is it is about money. But it's not about the workers' money. It's about the money that goes into the pockets of those public employee union leaders. Instead, we should stand with the workers and the hard-working taxpayers of this state and say, we've got a better solution here in Wisconsin. Now, as I mentioned, that some along the way might say, well, does it really require reforming collective bargaining to go down this path? And the answer is simply yes. And I know it firsthand. You see, for about 8 years before I was elected as your governor, I was a county official. And I saw time and time again at the local level, when we wanted to adjust our budget to take care of the crisis we inherited, we'd ask for modest contributions when it came to pension and health care. One year even asked for a limited number of 35-hour work weeks. Instead, the union leaders told us time and time again, because they were empowered by the collective bargaining agreements in this state, they said, forget it. Go ahead. lay off 400 or 500 employees. We don't care. They'd much rather prefer that than giving in even an inch on those benefits. That's what's at stake here. Another good example. For many of you who are involved in your communities and your schools, you can see it firsthand. So many of our school districts across the state have the impact that because of collective bargaining agreements, they're required to buy their health insurance from the WA Trust. The WA Trust, that's the State Teachers Union Health Company. If they didn't have to because our bill passes, once our bill passes, they'll be freed of that mandate. And instead, they can opt into buying into the state employee health care plan or some lower cost option, which then would empower them to save at least $68 million per year. That's money that can go in the classroom to pay for more teachers and curriculum and to actually help our children. That's what this is all about. Others on the national level have said, well, you know, why not, if this is shared sacrifice, why not ask others to pay? Why not ask corporations and higher income individuals to pay a little bit more? Well, as you all know, we've done that. We've done that in the past 2 years. In fact, ironically, 2 years ago, Governor Jim Doyle and all but 2 of the Senate Democrats who are hiding out in another state right now voted for a budget repair bill. Mind you, a budget repair bill that was introduced on a Wednesday and voted through on a Thursday. How about that for having the public involved in it? Apparently, when you raise taxes by $1 billion, it's okay to ram it through. But when you give people a week and a half and unprecedented amount of public hearings, that's not time enough. But they've done that before. And we've seen the impact. It has a devastating impact on the economy. Anybody who doubts that needs not just look at 2 years ago, but look at our neighbors to the south in Illinois. A month ago, Illinois opted to solve their budgetary crisis, at least temporarily, by raising taxes on corporations and individuals. They did that to avoid the tough choices. You see, in Illinois, they can't pay the bills, and they have a pension system that's barely half funded. So what do? They turned to raising taxes. What has happened in the months since? Businesses and individuals have escaped to Wisconsin and Indiana and other places all across the country, and more are headed down the path. Because the answer is not raising taxes to balance the budget. You see, that's a fundamental Wisconsin trait. It's not just something I campaigned on that comes out of my party platform. If you look back nearly 163 years ago, it comes out of the state's Constitution. There's a frugality clause that has never been amended, never been adjusted in the Constitution that was approved in the spring of 1848. It talks about how frugality and moderation in government ultimately leads to freedom and prosperity for our people. That's what this battle's all about. It's not about balancing the next budget. It's about making a commitment to the future. A commitment so that my children and your children and children all across this state aren't saddled with the burden of the excessive debt and out-of-control spending that this past generation has passed on to today's generation. We're going to stop that. I think all of us recognize that we can't go any further. We're broke. We've been broke for years. We've been broke time and time again, and it's about time we had leaders who had the courage to stand up and tell the public the truth, that we can't go down this path anymore because it's not fair to the next generation. We're going to balance this budget not just for today, but for tomorrow, because if we don't, our children and their children face even more dire consequences in the years to come. That's what this battle's about. The last thing I'd ask of all of you here today, and we need it now more than ever, is I look across this crowd and I see a lot of nodding heads, people who appreciate what we're saying, what we're trying to do. You might say, well, okay, that's great, but this is a sympathetic crowd. In fact, sometimes the joke goes, you're preaching to the choir. Well, as many of you know, my father's a retired minister, and years ago a minister was asked, why do you preach to the choir? He said, it's real simple. I want the choir to sing. So today, if you don't remember anything else, and hopefully you'll remember most of everything we did say, and others are saying it as well, but if you don't remember anything else, what I'm asking for you to do is to go back to your businesses, to go back to your communities, go back to the chamber and the Rotary Club and the tech group and all the other things you're a part of. Go back to your communities and sing. Tell people why this battle is so important. Tell people why it's not just about balancing the budget today, but making a commitment to the future. to ensure that our children don't face the same dire consequences we're going through here and all across the country. When we do, I have no doubt that the voices from Wisconsin will undoubtedly trump the voices coming in from all across this country. Thank you very much for your support. God bless you, and God bless the great state of Wisconsin.